Image management is all about perception management. So first thing is that you need to be aware. You need to have the self-awareness. Who you are, what you are good at, what you are not good at, what is the your biggest problem you have, and how do I get over that problem and enhance the strengths I have, so that I always am valuable, because it's about an attitude. It's not a transaction. You said that, is it a manipulative behavior? Manipulative behavior so happens because it's a transaction that is happening. Your job is about transformation of your own self, and in that process, transformation of the world around.
Welcome to Will Talks. Today we have Dr. Ajith Samuel. He's a professional psychologist. He's been working with over 100 schools for the past 20 years. He's the co-founder of Buddhishali. That is a competitive examination that puts children through intelligent questions, and it maybe 20 or 30,000 children have actually participated in Buddhishali. He's a renowned trainer. He speaks with parents, he speaks with teachers, he speaks with school leaders about child development, about school transformation, and pretty much anything that makes education work. Dr. Ajith Samuel is he's done his MSc in physics, and then he went on to follow his passion, which is psychology. Doctor's done his PhD as well in psychology. He also did his Masters of Management from Delhi. And we are absolutely thrilled that you were able to make it to the Will Talks podcast studios. And I'm sure today we're going to be discussing a lot about school transformation, about parents, about children, about, what makes things work inside a school system. And one thing I wanted to start you off is basically about this whole idea that in India, we hear this term all the time saying it's always the first impression that counts. What are your opening comments and thoughts about that, Dr. Ajith Samuel?
Thank you, Willie Broad, for the wonderful introduction regarding what I do. Yes, like Willie Broad said, I specialize in an area. There are two areas where I specialize. I specialize in the area called IQ. And the second area where I specialize in a field called impression management. I certainly believe because of the fact that my experience shows that you never get a second chance. People perceptions are more or less concrete. What they see first will always die when they go to their tomb.
But all the time people say life is about choices.
Life is about choices, but
chances.
And impression is not about.
No, wait. Are you actually saying that there is a huge impact to first impression?
Yes, there's a lot.
And is that only in a dating situation, or is it true in all courses of life?
Everything that you do is driven by impression. Though people do deny that, I don't go by impression. The fact remains that if somebody likes a person in the first instance, you always give them second chance, not the person who make the impression.
You mean the person who makes the impression actually does not have the power? The chance comes from the person who liked the first impression.
Yes, they give them chances because they believe that they do not want to deny their own perception of feeling that this person is a great person. So
are you saying if you had a very good first impression on me, that means I honored that impression and I considered it to be a good impression. And because I considered it to be a good impression of you, I will give you a second chance because I don't want to wrong myself.
Yes. So, as you rightly said, people who perceive that a person is good, who is sitting opposite is good, because of that, they give them not second chance. They give them a third chance. They want to make believe that they took the right decision the first time.
It's got nothing to do with the person who is making the
now,
first impression.
Impression is not all about somebody looks good or dress good or his hair is groomed well, his face shines. No, it is not. First impression, we think that 1 second you like somebody. The first looks gives the opportunity for a person to get into the door. The impression is a sustainable thing. It takes about 40 to 60 seconds, maybe a little longer to firm up. So your first meeting, first impression, we generally take that, okay, you met the person and then, okay, I liked him. That's it. That's good. That gives you entry into the through the door. Once you are in the door, whatever that person is doing, expressing, talking, reciprocating, all that has to be in sync with that first moment of contact. So that means your close encounters, not only the first encounter, the second encounter, the third encounter, the fourth encounter, all has to be synchronized at least during that frame of whatever time you talk to or meet the person or interact with the person. So in first impression management, not only the first visual look, what all follows. That's why we say there are multiple factors in impression management.
So where does authenticity come into play?
See, if I have to make a first good impression, first of all, I need to know. So, first of all, we need to understand what is impression management. It's a very, very well researched topic, impression management, though we take it as impressions count.
I just want to interject here and say that the word impression to me did not have a lot of gravity before this conversation. It felt like something that young people would. It felt like something that a new employee would do to a senior boss, or it felt like like a newly in love Cupid couple trying to impress each other. I never really thought about impression from a deep psychological perspective, like the way you're talking. So help me understand when you say impression, what are all the nuances of how deep is it?
See, actually, impression management is not a psychological. It comes from actually social. It's a sociology term. It basically revolves around the fact impression management. You look at as a totality. It's about how you handle the perceptions of others by controlled flow of information related to you or the organization you represent or the event that you are coordinating. It's purely controlled flow. That's why we come in the psychological terms, like we talk all about anything and everything. We talk about personality. I like this personality. You don't like somebody's personality. You like somebody's persona.
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 There's a difference between personality and persona.
Personality is like what you say. Like you get angry.
Oh.
You get angry. How do you look angry? You feel like this. But over a period of time, you know that this is a weakness. But then you feel that the public do not like it, may not give you the put you in the right light. So you basically put the process that when you get angry, keep a smiling. And over a period, everything revolves even in persona management or impression management. Impression management is nothing but persona management, not personality management. So in persona management is purely driven upon practice. So they're saying that practice make you perfect. And even going further, people say perfect practice make you perfect.
A deliberate practice.
Deliberate, perfect practice. Deliberate practice can be wrong, but you have to have the perfect with the right processes. So coming into a right processes, so multiple processes involved in, yeah.
How does this sound a little manipulating to you, or is there a difference between manipulation and impression management and controlling the flow? So many times people say things like go with the flow, go with the flow. You know,
there's a lot of, there's a fine line between manipulation and impression. Like you can feel that when you do control flow of information, it is manipulation. No. Manipulation happens when your motives are not right. If you go to an interview, your motive is that they should feel good about me and I should get the job. So that's not manipulation. The motive is right. So to get that motive get fulfilled, you basically release only what is good. Maybe you're an angry person inside, but you do not show your control flow of information. You show that you're the most cordial guy around. There's nothing wrong because you want, your motive is right. You wanted to get that job. And if you show your real personality, you may not even go last 5 minutes. So it is not one person. Every person in this world manage their personality or persona, not personality. Yeah.
So that brings me to the next idea that I'm thinking. Where do we learn impression management? There's no school that teaches impression management. I've heard of these classes that teach image management, and they tell you how to pick up clothes and match shirts and pants and trousers, tees and belts and buckles. But what you're saying seems to be way more than just the physical exterior aspects of impression management. You're talking about persona management. Where does one learn this?
In Bible, there is a saying. There's a book called Matthew. In the chapter 7 of that book, there's a verse 7 which says, "Seek, thou shalt find. Knock, thou shalt be opened. And ask, thou shalt be given." Whether it's about persona management or personality enhancement, or for that matter, anything that you want in life, all that you need is to look or seek. So when you ask this question, persona management, how do you learn? There are no quantified books or there is no specific training programs related to that. But that is because your ignorance shows that. In this world, if somebody has done something, that is documented somewhere. Or if better still, people experience can be your great learning platform. So you need to ask people, sir, I am new to this. I have this problem. How do I project the right persona so that I get things that is beneficial for everyone to happen, and that is by myself making a good first impression. First of all, I need to get the chance of contributing. For that, I need to project the right person. And to do that persona, how do you create that persona? My personality, I know because that is what I am. But the persona I want to project is not the actual personality I have. And it's always, I understand that persona, what I repeatedly do, that becomes my reality. So if I manage my persona, maybe I have a chance to get over the flaws in my life. That is, I become less angry in the process of repeating the same thing again and again. That's what people say. Whatever you practice more and more, that becomes your reality.
So I was in a hostel when I was when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, when I was studying. And in the hostel, everyone, all of us young people, everyone's trying to build an identity. Everyone's trying to create a group, find a tribe, create a clan, get into some group and feel part of belonging to a reference group. And I can remember the days when we were really trying to make an impression on people. And there were some of my friends who came to me and said, you know what, Willie, the way I handle this is I am who I am. I am just myself. And the friends who I make will remain with me forever and they will like and love the way I am. I don't want to be anything different. What do you think about this? Is there a is is this more strategic? What you're saying? Is it more strategic than all the other young people saying be yourself and just show up in the world like you are, and all the time assuming that people actually know who they are. People spend a lifetime trying to discover who they really are, but knowing the little that they know, they want to project that. What are your thoughts on that?
See,
And you have a young
thank
son.
you. Thank you for no. Thank you for let my son. I have an young son, yes, who is 22 years old. But what you just told me took me back about quite a few years back when I was a hostler myself, where I used to do all cliche sentence.
A cliche sentence. That's right.
Be what you are.
Be
Do what you like. The world is big enough. This too shall pass. All these used to say. These are all expression, one way of escapist way, because you really know that you are a hopeless case. So you want to project that, nothing affects me. So you just get into that tested and tried sentences that makes you look brave. It is not brave. It is actually an act of bravado. People are trying to become, yes, I am brave. By internally, they know that they're not brave. So what I am saying is that talking, repeating cliche won't make you what you ultimately want to be. You have to accept who you are. You need to know where you need improvement, and you need to know what exactly is the improvement you want, and then you need to find the right place or source to make that change happen. And that is very important because at the end of the day, your persona is what matters. Your personality can change.
So how does nature and nurture then come into this whole game? If I when at the age of 18 and 19, is there also an element of nature? Is there also an element of nurture? And at 18, 19, when I was in hostel, I didn't have my parents. So I don't know where is this nurturing coming from. Is it self-nurturing? Is there something like that? What are your thoughts around? I'm trying to get into how do we start becoming aware that there are times when I need to control my flow.
There is something called expectation. Everyone, whether it is or me or for that any person, every act of us is to fulfill a certain expectation somebody has for you. You said that you are not with your parents. You say that you are an independent human being. But a period of nurturing, nature is just got 10% your success. Nature gives you the basic framework for success. After that, everything revolves around nurturing. It can be the your teacher community that is nurturing you. The teachers whom you contact, we call them mentors. We call them mentors. We can be the parents who are very convinced, who call your mother, who calls her, beta kya hua, what happened, my son. That can be. They don't have to be physically present to nurture you to achieve greater excellence in life. योर मदर कैन कॉल बेटा यू बहुत गुस्सा आता है इसे गुस्सा नहीं करना गुस्सा करने से आपका तो सफलता में बीच में प्रॉब्लम आ सकता है यू मे नॉट बी आज सक्सेसफुल व्हेन यू बिकम योर नेचुरल सेल्फ ऑफ गेटिंग एंग्री फॉर एवरीथिंग दिस इज अ वे ऑफ नर्चरिंग it has got nothing to do with nature it is everything success is all about nurture it is not very okay you may not become a great singer that is with nature you are born with the talent of singing to being successful, it's got nothing to do with nature. It is purely nurture. Your experience nurtures you. Being alone in the hostel nurtures you. You get the survival mechanisms get into place. I am alone. My mother is not there. My father is not there. Even my teachers are not here when in the hostel. I have to survive because in hostels and a lot of unfair things happen sometimes to some people. Like in the schools, a lot of bullying happens. How do you survive this? You have to find your own mechanisms. So the pressure, societal pressures involving the current universe that you are in, not the previous universe, that actually nurtures you to find greater levels of excellence and develops your survival mechanism. And persona is one of the best way that people find to show that if I project myself right, I will always have a better chance than my neighbor. It is a competitive instinct. Persona management or impression management is a competitive instinct that is developed through systematic, pre-planned practice of certain processes and concepts, which ultimately becomes the you to the world around you.
So when you say it's competitive,
It is competitive.
that means there is a winner and there's a loser. So if I take this into a school setting, um, out of a team of 50 teachers, what's the kind of impression that a teacher would have to make on the trustees or the board of trustees or the board of directors to be elevated to this post of a principal or an administrator of a school or a director?
See, that concept itself is a manipulative concept. Like somebody has to make an impression. What the teacher who has long-term plan, See, respect is not something that you snatch by behaviors like. Respect is something you earn by your acts, the act that you do. For example, now like we did not go elaborately into the how this impression management happens, how you make the good first impression. There are multiple processes. Generally, you talk about it. It is got two planes. One is an act of body, and second is a state of the mind. You have to have a shift in your state of the mind and the act of the body to make good first impression. And how do you do that? You have to, like what you say, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Nobody can make Kentucky Fried Chicken. Why? Because you don't have the recipe. If I have the recipe that Colonel Lawrence Sanders had used to make that first Kentucky Fried Chicken, I can also make the same Kentucky Fried Chicken the way he made it or the way Kentucky KFC makes it today. So it's all about processes. So impression management is also no different. There are certain processes. The first thing about the process is being aware about what you are. You have to take an audit about what you really are. In that, you don't hide anything because you are only accountable to your own self. Ultimately, success of you is dependent fully on you. And you are using the social forces or the overall universe to make sure that you project the right image so that people have the right perception about it. So, image management is all about perception management. So, first thing is that you need to be aware, you need to have the self awareness, who you are, what you are good at, what you are not good at, what is the your biggest problem you have, and how do I get over that problem and enhance the strengths I have so that I always am valuable, because it's about an attitude. It's not a transaction. You said that, is it a manipulative behavior? Manipulative behavior so happens because it's a transaction that is happening. Your job is about transformation of your own self, and in that process, transformation of the world around. So when you do impression management or perception management, to put it more academically closer to what it is really is, it's all about the intentions are good to make sure that you transform yourself and project that transformation in the world, that in that process the world uh, transforms themselves.
So, taking this
Like
knowledge,
you said that about the teacher. What the teacher should do, if a teacher is calm and the teacher with 5 years or 2 years or 1 year, it doesn't matter. Every teacher, add or subtract, is more or less same, except the fact that they they need to know what they want to actually contribute. People are known as teachers not because initially, yes, looks are very important, how they project is important. End of the day, the perception has to sustain, the first impression has to sustain. You can really look so great and end of the day says he's a dumb fellow, then no, even the good feelings will still remain. But you also need to add value.
so now that you said that there is a process, that means there is a skill involved, there is repetitive behavior involved, there are routines, and here are a few questions that you could probably think of addressing. One is, what are the kind of impression that students need to have about their teacher in order to set up a classroom environment that is most conducive to learning? One. Second question, what are the kind of behaviors that teachers need to do in the classroom, especially responding to student action, that allows children to also develop an awareness of impression or impression management?
What is the impression that? So I have said that impression management is all about a. There are multiple factors in this. First, I just touched upon, you need to be self-aware. So every teacher need to be self-aware. What are their shortcomings? What are their strengths? and they should look at activities that builds their strengths and not to eliminate their weakness. They have to just focus on strengthening their strengths. So what, like the saying, what get used gets stronger, what do not get used or ignored just weakens.
I'll tell you where my question comes from. My question comes from Brother Judge, my teacher. The day he came into the classroom, the first thing that uh, all the children were talking about was there's a new brother who's come from Ireland. He's very strict. And that was my first impression. So I, of the teacher without even seeing him. And when he walked into my classroom, I was ready to learn. And in the first class, he told us 4 or 5 rules. Said, I always want homework done. I always want answers. When I ask questions, I want answers. I always want questions when I make a lesson. And I want you to help each other and look out for each other. So if I ask somebody a question and if they can't answer, I want somebody else to rescue it. So it almost feels like he set up some expectation. And that almost felt like had a great impact into my impression of him. And I almost started behaving, my body action, as you call it, started behaving to live up to that. What was happening to me as a student in that situation? And being in his class, I topped my school in math and Marathi, both subjects in which I was almost failing. So I know that that teacher did something. What do you think that could possibly be?
Your brother Judge, that was your teacher when you were an youngster, is somebody who was exceptionally good in image management or managing perception. He made sure that the students that he is going to see has already heard about what they heard, because they have not seen the actually, like you heard about God, you have not seen God. So you feel that this is my impression is God. God is all powerful. So Brother Judge was giving away clearly orchestrated selective information to young students, stating that through whatever source they had. Somebody has to talk to these young students that Brother Judge is strict, he is tough, he comes from Ireland. It just do not come out of the thin air. So it was a carefully orchestrated flow of information, basically to create a perception that Brother Judge is somebody bigger than what you actually see. Now all that Brother Judge needs to do is that when you come into the class, he has to do a follow exactly what information that has already been moved from one source to the mind of the youngster. He only need to uh, he need to only act the role. So Brother Judge did that fantastically. And then what Brother Judge indirectly was saying without him actually saying, through the selective flow of information, that this is my expectation. Like Brother Judge is a strict guy. Wants everyone to do well. He means business. So children are already ready for Brother Judge. So Brother Judge comes and repeats what they already heard, and the expectation is set high. The person says that he means business. So children have no other choice than fulfilling what Brother Judge wanted. That's why you stopped in Marathi. It is nothing to do about your conceptual brilliance. It's about the expectation pressures. That's why, there's a saying that a lot of behind every man, there is a strong woman or a mother or whatever you say. That person, the very fact that the message they already transferred to this man or a woman when they were small is that my mother sets high standards and my mother will go out of the way to help me achieve this. So you have no other choice. You are driven by the expectation. The judge did that. That was a strong case of impression. Yeah, I set high expectation and it support you, and you have to achieve whether you like it or not.
That's just so brilliant. And it's such an ally for a good teacher. Good teacher knows that perception and impression precedes presence. And I think that is so, so powerful.
Yes.
I have another example, and I'd like you to deconstruct it in your proprietary Dr. Ajith style. So there is a classroom, there is a teacher,
Hmm.
the teacher's sitting down.
Hmm.
It's okay if she sits down, but she's sitting down and she's not really doing anything with children. And suddenly there is a little bit of noise and they know that the principal is walking around. And the minute the teacher came to know that the principal is walking around, she springs up in front of her children and gets all the children to hurriedly say, open your book, start doing this. And she starts trying to teach really fast. And just as the principal walks in, the teacher jumps up and says, good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. And the principal looks at the class, smiles and walks away. What?
That is manipulation. That means teacher who is not good do all this act. A teacher who is really good, set high expectation, had put the right processes in place, and the children are doing it. She need not tell children now take your books and all that. They would already be in front of the books and doing it. Whether principal come or the trustee come or the prime minister come, she is not bothered because she know what she is supposed to do. She has already got that in the children. So if some teacher is suddenly saying children open the book, principal is coming, which children already know, that is clear case of manipulation. Out of sympathy, children open the book, not because they feel that the teacher really cares for them. So that is a clear act of manipulation. That is not perception management.
What did children learn?
Children learn
Looking
that
at that.
you can always manipulate because you set the precedence that it is okay to manipulate to achieve short-term gains. That teacher was short-term. The principal is not
Managed.
No, the principal is not seeing this teacher the first time. He would have seen the same thing again and again. Otherwise, he would not have been the principal.
So here's my next thing. Here's my next situation. My next situation is there is a classroom. The teacher is teaching something very important. The class is in a teaching moment. Children are at the brink of uncovering and discovering this new knowledge for themselves. And suddenly, the principal just barges in and starts talking about something else. What did children learn?
See, now you need to understand who is the master of that class. The master of the class decides what is to be told and what is not to be told. And the teacher is all attentive. She knows that the principal is coming and she may also have an idea why is he coming. So if she is a proactive teacher who really cares for the class environment and the fulfillment of the learning process, she will politely ask the principal, sir, can you just give me 5 minutes? I'll finish up this class, then you can continue that. You can talk whatever you want to say. She should be assertive. If you are not an assertive teacher, you are not a good teacher. So the teacher should have the ability to act proactively. Otherwise, how can you say that children are learning the right model? It is not about conceptual transfer that is about learning. It is the whole behavior is transferred. That is why I say everything that children learn, they are highly impressionable age. They all learn from what the teachers. That's why some children say, this teacher is very strict, but I like her. Teacher is very tough. He makes me sit outside. Still the child want to get into the class to be told by the teacher, please sit outside. So that is a respect comes not because of the teacher's punishment, because she feels that I deserve it. So I need not do the next time. So teacher is setting the right role model. So in that case, if the teacher is in the middle of something, setting the discovery is more important than the principal. And she should have the courage to tell the principal, sir, please, children are just going to say, and the principal himself or herself would have been a teacher. She will understand, she will part of the learning process instead of completing her job or delivering a message.
This is absolutely brilliant. I think this is very insightful. Here is my next case. A teacher finds a few children disrupting the class, or maybe not done their homework. And she decides, although the law prohibits her to do that, she decides to send 4 kids outside the classroom. And kids are sitting in the corridor and they're completing their work. The principal walks around the corridor, sees these 3 kids, looks at the kids and says, get up, go inside the classroom. I don't want anybody punished. Does not enter the class, does not look at the teacher, does not look at the students. continues walking around. What are the impact of this? What did the children learn through observation? What did the teacher feel? What did the principal feel? And is there a better way to handle such things? What do you think the principal should have done?
You want my frank opinion about that?
Absolutely, always.
That principal should be sacked.
Why would we want to take that step?
Why should he take that step? He knows that he is not a novice in teaching. He had been a teacher for all these years, he knows that how to, if he's a good teacher, he knows that he will set up the people. And he need to ask this first question. If I was a teacher in that class, and the teacher, because of the good intention of making children learn, ask them to go outside, complete the work and come back, would I like if any principal or the trustee comes and says, go inside, what is more important? What is more important to teacher? The learning of the children or fulfilling the social compliance requirement? After all, the teacher is not gone into any corporal punishment. She asked them to complete, or she asked them to complete, children to complete what the work they have not completed, so that the children are up to date with other children. So actually, the principal who asked, get up children, go inside class, actually disrupting the learning process. And the principal should not have done it. I may have gone a little too harsh on saying that the principal should be sacked, but that is the first thought process that came to me as an academic. The principal, they should not have done what if he did. Normally they don't do, because they are all wise principals around.
You think they would have
They
looked at
won't.
the teacher?
They just look at the
teacher?
children and smile at them, and he will continue. He will not give the children the attention that they want to see or sympathy they want from the principal. He will look at them, look at the other side, and he will walk away. Because he by now would have known teacher wanted the good learning process to be followed in the school. She did not do because to punish the children. She did it to make children do better in their studies and get up to date. So normally that hypothetical situation do not arise in most of the good schools, because already a culture has been set in. But since you said that this is a situation happening in a specific school, which is purely hypothetical, I also give you a hypothetical answer to. So it has got nothing to do with, if I would have been the teacher, I would not have liked it. And I would have expressed my discomfort to the principal in a very polite and assertive manner. Because if people do, anybody can make mistakes. Even suppose it would have happened, I will not react. Let them, I will just keep my control, because I am the teacher. I need to keep my composure and control. After the class is over, I will not show anything as that, because expressing my emotions is not a virtue for a teacher, especially in front of impressionable minds of the young children. So I will keep quiet. As soon as the class is over, I will go personally meet the principal. Sir, you did. I do not know the reason why, but I, as a teacher, did not like it because of this reason. I did not punish them. I wanted them to complete their learning process and become up to date. If you have anything other than that to say for your decision, please enlighten.
Thank you, doctor. Another situation comes to mind which requires your keen eye. New teacher enters the school, maybe 2 or 3 new teachers, and the principal realizes that these are new teachers. And the new teachers then get far more attention, coaching, mentoring, and guidance than the senior teachers. Teachers who spend longer inside the school. The senior and teachers who spend longer inside the school start feeling like the principal always pays more attention to newcomers and devalues us as older teachers. Especially the newcomers seem to be better at technology, chat GPT, and things like that. And they seem to impress upon the principal. What impressions are happening here given, on all the stakeholders? What needs to be managed? What are potential threats? And what is a strength?
Okay. That's a very complex question. Too many variables are there. A good school is represented by the culture it has set into place. Every good school has got a certain culture. And by virtue of that culture, a certain process would have already been set in place. So you said that the new teachers are getting more attention prima facie. It may not be what it is in the convert into real term. Prima facie, it may look like that they are giving the send attention. And the senior teachers were also new teachers at some point of time. They are not suddenly become senior teachers. They may have spent time, so they know what is the culture of the organization, and they also reflect that when they joined the school, there were senior teachers at that point of time, and they got more attention, and they know why they got more attention because they were not at par with the senior teachers of the school who had better training, more years of experience, more insights, and more disappointment. The new teachers are just new teachers, just finished the B.Ed or whatever, they come here. The old teachers have a lot of things. They had a wealth of information, and by virtue of that, they are wise. And so these teachers know that they got attention not because of they were brilliant, but they because the management had the culture of giving a soft glove so that these new teachers, when they become senior teachers, are better than and become a role model or a kind of a beacon for the new teachers at that point of coming. So all the senior teachers of the school, when they see new teachers are given attention, they will go back into the time when they joined the school. So they will start feeling good about the organization because they feel that there is a consistency in the organization. So they will not feel that new teachers have got attention or not. And you said that new teachers are good in chat GPT or any technology. So every stage of every teacher's life, there is some change that is happening because change is a constant. If there is no change, you become incompetent. To remain competitive, change is essential, whether you like it or dislike it. Change is an essential part of being competent. So if ChatGPT is the new change today, the all teachers already know when I joined, this was a change was happening. My time there when I joined, there was
Word star.
not word star. When I joined, there was land phones where I have to do trunk calls. Suddenly, after 1 year of thing, I cell phones came. I found this is something like a difficult. But now I feel very comfortable. I feel that all phone is good. So she managed the change well and she mastered cell phone and she learned that she could be much better in communication using WhatsApp or whatever. So now that teacher, since she already managed the change at that point of time, if she is already an empowered teacher who is used to the culture of the school, which she is proud of, she will learn chat GPT. She will not feel unsettled because the new teachers learn chat GPT. In fact, she will be better off because she already managed change.
I love it. What you're saying is, whatever you're going to do as a principal or as a school, do it again and again, build consistency and create culture
Yes, create culture.
because culture creates expectations. And that culture can become a nurturing, supportive environment to allow you to continue doing those routines and behaviors that you feel is part of your worldview or your vision or your pedagogical approach towards education.
You said culture create expectation. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
Culture do not create expectation.
Does it
Expectation
set
is a counter product. Culture creates predictability. This is what the organization wants. And if high expectation is one of the important parameters on that culture, I repeat, if high expectation is an important part of that culture, that is a predictability that the culture brings it. And people like predictable culture. They don't want unpredictable cultures. Today you are one thing, tomorrow you are something else. No. So culture gives you predictability.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
In all the people that I've met, so many of them say, we like spontaneity. and we like change and we want dynamism. And here you're telling me people actually appreciate steady state, predictability, structure, order. And is that also true with children as it is true with adults from a psychological?
There is, I think you are confusing between predictability and spontaneity.
I'm not confusing.
Yeah, no, I'm just coming into that.
What I'm actually saying is like,
No, I like that. See, you are confusing. Being spontaneous is a predictable behavior. Like
repeat that.
your brother Judge said that I am predictable in the fact that I am going to be spontaneous. I am predictable in the fact that I want high expectations. I am predictable in that fact that I will not leave you till you top in Marathi. That predictability is giving the power, whatever the power to impact and influence children. Same way, if brother Judge brings that predictability or spontaneity and high expectation that comes out of that spontaneity, teachers will say this is a role model to play. If brother Judge is able to do this, predictability of spontaneity and predictability of high expectation, we should also follow brother Judge and we become brother Judge. This is how brother Judge has managed the impression management to the best use of bringing a culture that bring excellence among all the stakeholders.
I love it because I'm seeing the value and importance
Hmm.
of creating structure, of creating a framework, of order, of setting boundaries, and thus building a culture that then brings about predictability. And predictability, again, I'm just suggesting, does predictability then bring about psychological safety?
Yes, that's a fantastic idea. You need to take a little back. I don't know, many of you are aware about an organization called G or bigger terms, General Electric.
Yes.
It had a phenomenally visionary leader called Jack Welch.
Yeah.
The first 7 or 8, maybe 10 years.
Did he write a book called The GE Way? I think.
GE Way. He wrote the book GE Way.
There's one thing in the GE Way that I just couldn't get my head around. He said, sack the bottom 20%.
Yes.
It sounds a little harsh.
That was very, 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 what do you
Maybe
call-
it's misunderstood.
It's not misunderstood. He did sack people.
The bottom 20%.
Not bottom. He almost the remaining 30% left on their own. He sacked 20%.
Every time I told my team that, I let this, the Jack Welch would sack the bottom 20%, everyone will look at each other and everyone feel like, am I going? And I'm like, wait, is everyone the bottom 20%?
So you don't know which is the bottom 20%. He had a churn of almost 50% the first 10 years. So after 10 years, whatever he left, his first 10 years is known as the hard way of management. He said, you perform or perish. There is no in between for me, no compassion. Because organization want performance. So you decide whether you can perform. But 20% I will sack. So people did not know
The
which.
bottom 20%.
He said bottom 20%.
But
But
nobody knows.
nobody knows. So self-determination. Am I really fulfilling the requirements of the organization?
My goal now is to become 21.
So Jack Welch said, my equation is clear. You perform or perish. That was the first 10 years of his management at GE. The second 10 years, he said, he had the first 10 years the hard way of management. I don't come to me to tell me your grievances. Come and tell me your excellence. And those who did not have anything to go and tell, I excelled in that, they automatically left the organization. And that's why GE is what GE is today. The next part of is till he left GE, it was a soft glove treatment. Whoever is left after the first 10 years of purge, they all proved that they are smart. We could survive 10 years, we can sit 100 years in. And he said, these are the survivors. And I am the leader of the survivors. and it became a community of performance. That is what Jack Welch way of management.
This is
That
brilliant. Like listening to what you said just now brings two big ideas into my head. The first idea that I have is mediocrity builds hierarchy. Mediocrity builds hierarchy. That's my first idea. The second idea is very few organizations are meritocracy based. Meritocracy based organizations may seem to be psychologically unsafe places, may seem to be let's say not compassionate, dispassionate, or rude, or not empathetic. So, two questions for you, two thoughts for you to break down, blast out of the orbit. Does mediocrity create hierarchy? Does organizations with meritocracy, is the essence of those organizations rooted in being unfair or transactional?
you are talking this only in the
Say from
related to education.
schools. Yeah, I mean schools and education because most of our viewers are in education.
Okay.
Probably ring a few bells.
Okay. I'm very sad to say schools or even brilliant leaders find it difficult to be a Jack Welch. Even if they wish they want to become a Jack Welch, they are unable to find, because the basic essence of every organization is make sure that there are enough teachers in the school. And they also accept what you call mediocrity is not created by teachers. It is created by the attitude of the manager. Parents will come and ask, there is no teacher in this. You say, I want the best teacher. The parents will say, I don't care. I just want a teacher. So the school's basic problem today is to fill the seats of teachers with whoever comes. I'm not saying there are some brilliant teachers, but majority of the teachers are not to the level of Jack Welch. If Jack Welch should have been in the school today, maybe 10% of the teachers would have. I have seen enough and more, not only in Bombay region, I have seen it in the Kerala region, seen it in Tamil Nadu. I seen it in the Chandigarh. Every school basically do not have enough of competence. They just want to fill the position so that parents do not feel the classes are not attended well. So mediocrity do not bring hierarchy. Mediocrity actually is a necessity.
So
The show will go on. It become a necessity because the basic thing today is not how many meritorious teachers you. The question is that all my teachers' positions are fulfilled. All my classes are attended to.
another thing happens is
And today we have another wonderful thing. All this smart class was a saving grace. So all the teacher need to do was that there is no meritocracy in that. All the thing was that first thing you hear in all the schools is that Windows starting tune. At 7:30, you will see that Windows will come. And then teacher also will see the cartoon and all that interactive learning materials that the edtech companies want. And it was saving grace. And in that process, what happened? It is not the mediocre teachers who suffered. The meritorious teachers suffered because they also forgot how to teach. Actually, schools are taken a back seat because of all these edtech companies. We say that, and I really like COVID because of that. 2 years of COVID has ruined children. And being a psychologist, I know there are children after 2 years, they just hide behind the umbrella of dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia to cover up their incompetence of not learning anything or whatever they learn through the edtech platform. Good learning, good schools need great teachers. Now the question is, where do you find? If you don't find them, the next thing is a survival mechanism. The show has to go on. They take whatever comes in. Okay, as long as this is there, it fits in the basic. It is not the maximum possible. It is the minimum acceptable. And what is the minimum acceptable? Do you have a beard? And that makes a teacher qualified to be a teacher.
Which now means there's an incredible responsibility on the principal and people, the senior leadership, including the senior teachers of the school, to be able to nurture and develop the talent to ensure that the incoming teachers.
Thank you for bringing that into consideration. And that's where people like you play a very big role. You take a lot of interest in making schools really, really a better place. I really am really impressed with that fact, because you take things into how to improve the pedagogical processes, how to inspire teachers, or what you recently told, to aspire to inspire. You are talking about something that you really impressed me with that, whatever you told me about that. Actually, this is a time for the management to aspire to inspire the teachers to become better teachers. Because any teacher who has finished 2 years of B.Ed is capable of becoming a great teacher. So every school should have a teacher training platform. Other than what they learned in the 2 years of B.Ed, they don't learn anything. The truth is that they just qualify. Because even the colleges are pretty lax, because I know. I visit some of the colleges in the Thane region. So I know how much rigor. Rigor is one of the essential category of making a teacher a great teacher. And our B.Ed curriculum do lack that rigor to really test the teachers into the frontiers of their brilliance. They don't take the teachers to the frontiers of their brilliance. They look, as long as I am able to do the minimum acceptable, I will pass my B.Ed. And as long as I have a B.Ed, I will get a job in any school, because the school want minimum acceptable, not the maximum possible. Now it is the responsibility of management like yourself to make sure that this minimum acceptable culture is changed to a maximum possible culture.
This is such a juxtaposition. You work with the minimum acceptable
and make the maximum possible,
because we want the maximum possible from children.
Yes.
Which means our process of developing teachers need to be so beautiful, need to be so effective, and need to happen fast, else the collateral damage is on children who are, again, impressionable and don't have much time. However, what I'm saying is that is a crazy need of the hour, and principals need to develop their training and coaching muscle. Not to be a harvesting school by taking the best teachers and then trying to deliver the best results, but you got to become an investing school, where you start investing in all your stakeholders. And one of the core competencies of a principal of today needs to be stakeholder management and talent development, ensuring that talent gets delivered. And that then brings me to my new puzzle is, if I am going to develop my teachers, am I also the one responsible to evaluate my teachers if they are learning and doing better? And if my teachers are not learning and doing better from my training, then is that my fault? And do I take responsibility, or do I blame them and look for alternatives? Could a teacher look at me and say, "Sir, aap hi ne to sikhaya mujhe"? It's a complex question, doesn't have a simple answer.
No, I'll start with the first. He said if the teacher school is not delivering what is the maximum, not having a maximum possible culture, and has got a minimum acceptable culture as it stands, certainly the immediate collateral damage is the children. But that collateral damage do not stop there. The long-term collateral damage is going to be the reputation of the school.
Impression again.
Impression, yes. Everything is driven on impression or perception. Perception leads to impression. If the child is going to be doing bad, is a collateral damage. He is going to say, "Amma, kaun si school mein dala? Teacher ko kuch aata hi nahi." That is why today coaching culture has become so a prevalent force, not because of the coaching institutions are better, because schools are bad. Parents want salvation. They will say, "Beta, your school is bad, no problem, I'll put you into coaching class." Why is that attitude came? Because child came and said that the school teachers are bad. That is the short-term problem. Long-term problem, over a period of time, 100 teachers say that school doesn't teach anything. That becomes the fact. That becomes the impression of the community. The long-term the collateral damage is going to be, end of the day, the school itself. So it is the responsibility of the management, which include trustees, which includes the principal, which includes the directors or whatever who is there, because different organizations have different hierarchy of management. It is their responsibility to take a call and say, okay, this is what we are. Then you have to decide where we want to be ideally placed as a school, and then where is the gap, and fill the gap. That needs a lot of process change. Even the worst teacher of yesterday can be the star teacher of tomorrow. This is purely on the manager. So they need to identify which teacher what. First of all, every teacher available is in the market or in the universe that you stay in is going to be more or less same. Add, subtract, it will be just than 2% difference or 1% difference.
It's a law of average.
It is. It is not much. If teacher is good in something, physics, the other teacher will be good in human relations. If the teacher is bad in both, he'll be good in art.
So let's talk about impressions here and parents, for example. There's so many cases when children, especially in nursery, junior, senior, first, second, third, fourth, sixth standard, that when project work is given to children, where homework is given to children, where assignments are given to children, it's basically the parents who do it and send it with their kids, and and kids then go and display it in exhibitions or things like that, and many kids do really well. Teachers and educators like yourself and mine know that that is not authentic because it cannot be used for assessment. What is the impression that parents have about the school that lead them to do this behavior? First question. What led them to this behavior? Second question. By parents rescuing children in this situation so that children look poor, what did children learn in that process? And third situation, by seeing parents doing all these project work so beautifully and so nicely all the time, does that then motivate and encourage the teachers, the principals, to design more such activities in which parents can get involved and be engaged, leaving children behind?
Okay, that brings to Bhagavad. Krishna said, Arjuna, the end justifies the means. If every child is doing collaborative learning, you cannot say that helping, bailing out the child. It's collaborative learning between the father and the mother and the child. Actually, school is doing a great thing that way, because at least.
But does that put certain children at advantage? Where not all children have a father and a mother. Not all children have fathers and mothers who are available. Does that put certain children at an advantage and certain children at a disadvantage?
As long as they don't buy ready-made things from the market.
Why not? If my parents are not available.
If certain things, see, end of the day, children feel that I need to fulfill a certain requirement.
And using your parents as a crutch to achieve that requirement.
Nobody uses anybody as a crutch. It is fulfillment required in every life. When life also sees there are certain things you need to fulfill. It may not have much significance to whatever the end result.
I get it. There is a value to collaborative family projects.
Just collaborate. If families can
which means the goal has to be very clearly identified.
If
is
parents
this an assessment goal or is it just a engagement?
It's not that. It is not about assessment, or it's more about engagement. At least because of this act of school, some parents and the child have a bonding time. And the child feel good, my mommy is helping me, but daddy is helping me. Or at least my parents are helping me to go to a tuition teacher and getting. So he's get a social bonding, family bonding, multiple factors the child is learning how to bond better. So you should look at the positive of all this. And it do not put children at disadvantage, because not even 90, almost all children do this. So there is no competitive pressure. It's a fulfillment. Anyway, the child is not going to learn anything like going to send a Chandrayaan to the moon by doing this project. What matters, I'm just giving it to make it simple, in fact. They need to understand this is the instruction, you have to fulfill this and bring it back to the school, the project. At least If they have understood that instruction, they are a little better because they understood the instruction better, or they learn to follow instruction. Life, as long as you can follow instructions in totality, you do well. If the children have collaboratively or do it or buy, borrow, beg, they got the project done, they say completion is essential. You know what is the biggest problem in India? They are great starters. They never finish well. At least these children have finished the work. They see that I have completed, Eureka. So that is very essential. So I don't think this is going to have a long-term consequence on children, because children say, oh, if I did it, I did not do, I become smart. There's nothing like that. It is about learning process. It has got nothing to do with the end result. As long as the teacher teaches the concepts well in the class. What end of the day as a school, you should not worry too much about projects and all that. That's why we say SSC schools are a lot better than ICSE, because you are more in control. ICSE 90%. I'm not belittling any this one. It's all about activities and very little about classroom learning. You need to have a balance. And I think that way I feel CBSE is a lot better place than both SSC and ICSE. This is my experience. I may be wrong. It may be purely an opinion which is not substantiated by facts. But this is my opinion, which I strongly believe.
And I also believe that school leaders, if they have the right vision, if their heart is in the right place, and if they have the right processes and systems, they can really create transformation, exceptional schools.
Yeah, any school, any board, as long as there is a framework. It doesn't matter. All these names are for the psychological satisfaction of the parents. They feel my child is in ICSE or my child is in IB. I feel a SSC child in Lathur will do far better than a IB child from Dhirubhai Ambani school. Like what they say, necessity is the mother of invention. Chill.
Absolutely brilliant, Doctor. On a closing note, I want to ask you one last question. Even in 2023, there are schools and school chains wherein which teachers
Mm.
are insulted
Mm.
in front of children
Mm.
by the trustees or the school management and school directors and sometimes even their principals. What is wrong there? And in a situation like that, give a message of hope, give them a strategy, how they need to actually handle that.
Want
A
me
frank
to give a
opinion? Yes.
message to the trustees?
I want you to give a message to the trustees. I want you to give a message to the school principals, because I know it's difficult, it's frustrating at times, and it's tiring, and people may lose patience. Give them a message of hope. Give them a strategy, and also tell them what are they actually losing out on, how much erosion is happening.
You want my honest opinion about
I
this?
always want your.
Because this can be a little bit. See, the management, the principals, the trustees who do this, I can only quote one thing. Because I'm a Christian, I can only quote my religion with boldness. It is what Jesus told about the Roman soldiers who was about to crucify them or crucified. And what he said is this: forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. I repeat, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. So if the schools have a toxic culture, because man by nature is sadistic.
That sounds like a whole new podcast.
My nature is a, and secondly, man by nature want to prove somebody is I am smarter than you. And this management, these trustees who insult the teachers, they are trying to prove that they are smarter to cover up their own inadequacy. So my message to teachers of such schools is that the world is always not a fair place to live. But if it is not fair, leave the school and find another place, a better place to work. That's all I can give. Changing people who engage in this kind of toxic behavior is just like telling wisdom to a buffalo or a bull. I don't want to do that. Let them be toxic. Let them feel happy about it.
Find another place.
Let the teachers find another place. Don't try to change anything. You have one more experience. You will find that a better school you go, you will feel more committed, uh, you feel more ownership.
This brings me to my final comment. It says, people are not bad. People are different. Good processes go a long way in creating good people. There have been so many principals who told me that teacher, she was in my school and she did nothing. She was useless. But when I go to the other school principal and I ask, how's that teacher? Came from the other school. She's brilliant. And then I say, did she just trick you? He's like, no, she actually did really well. She's really doing very well. So much impact on individual behavior seems to come from the system, the ecosystem, the culture. I fully agree with what you're saying. Find another playground. You might find a place that accepts you, that makes you show your true essence.
So closing note is this. If you're constantly driving, looking at your rear view mirror, you will not enjoy what is ahead. So these teachers in such toxic cultures are always looking at their back, protecting their back instead of looking in the front. So if in an organization where they cannot give a feeling of security teachers, better leave that. Whatever the school may be, whatever they name of, it is not worth teaching in that.
Super talking to you, Dr. Ajith Samuel. Last 1 or 2 minutes, I would want you to give a message. If you now know that there are some principals here who are listening to you, it's almost been an hour and 15 minutes since we're talking. What would be the message of hope you'd want to give a principal or a teacher or a student or a parent? Choose who you want to talk to them for 2 or 3 minutes, give them a message of hope, something that's going to truly inspire them to greatness.
That's a nice way to end this podcast. So I just want to bring in Brother Judge that Mr. Willie brought. Be a brother judge. Send the message you are a smart principal. And do everything that make people feel that what we felt about him is what he really is. And you will become a role model for the society, which include the teachers, which include the students, and which include the whole ecosystem your school was built on. So be the role model. So manage your perceptions well. First of all, decide what you want to communicate and fulfill whatever you communicate in its totality. If Brother Judge can do it, so can each one of you. Thank you for giving this opportunity, Mr. Willie Broad George. And I feel really happy that, I could send some message to whoever is listening to this program. Have a wonderful evening or day or whatever your time you are in ahead. Bye.
Thank you, Dr.